On the news, mixed reactions trail President Buhari's 10.33 trillion naira budget at the Senate. President Buhari sets targets for Economic and Advisory Council. And Turkey launches offensive against Kurdish militants in Syria. Many thanks for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Anetta Felix. Lawmakers at the National Assembly have opened debate on President Muhammadu Buhari's record 10.33 trillion naira 2020 budget proposal. Analysis on the fiscal paper took center stage during plenary on Wednesday, with some lawmakers warning of the consequences of the huge deficits and non-performance of revenue-generating agencies. The budget is also being condemned by Senate Minority Leader Eyinaya Abaribe, who says the document has no focus and must be thoroughly probed before passage.
The deficit and even the gains we are looking at are being targeted. In essence, the excess, we are targeting certain sectors: the education sector, the health sector, the infrastructure. And to my mind, a situation where you focus seriously on all these areas means fully well that you are putting the economy on the path of growth.
We are raising an alarm bell that all of us should really tighten our belt and look really into the structure of this economy, and where in our own committees we could be able to really get the relevant laws that could drive this economy into a higher growth trajectory.
Appropriation submitted by the President yesterday is a financial bill, and that financial bill have 5 thematic areas, and I'm worried about one. The one that I'm worried about, if you look at the speech, is on paragraph E, which talks about revenues.
2 assumptions that are critical for this budget. The first one is the assumption on oil prices. I know that our people were very happy when there seemed to be a little problem in the Middle East with Iran, which will lead to a spike in oil price. But that seemed to have petered out, which means that our projection for the cost of oil may also be off the mark. Second one is our projection for the production levels daily. Last year, the average production level was 1.8 million barrels per day. Why won't we skip it there? Why must we go up to 2.1 only to be disappointed at the end of the day? Mr. President, I know that...
Meanwhile, the All Progressive Congress APC has hailed the commitment of both the executive and legislative arms of government in ensuring a return to the January to December budget cycle. In a statement released by its spokesperson, Lanre Isaunilu, the APC noted that early presentation of the budget gives lawmakers nearly 3 months to consider and pass the document. The statement further noted that the proposed budget is targeted at consolidating on the gains of the current administration in revamping the power, rail and road infrastructure. It also stressed that it will go a step further to diversify the economy, fight emerging crimes and insurgency, and also help to rebuild the Northeast. The APC says it is confident that the patriotic disposition of the 9th National Assembly would ensure a cordial relationship with the executive arm of government, which would then translate to good governance for Nigerians. President Muhammadu Buhari has administered oaths of office on members of the newly constituted Presidential Economic Advisory Council and also set an agenda for the team. At a meeting with the 8-member council chaired by Doyin Salami, President Buhari charged them to focus on developing reliable data that will properly reflect what is happening in the country. Describing the task as, quote, the most important national assignment, Buhari stressed that most of the statistics quoted about Nigeria are developed abroad by the World Bank, the IMF, and other foreign bodies. He adds that some of these statistics are wild estimates that bear little relation to the facts on the ground. He added that Nigeria can only plan realistically when the country has access to reliable data. The council was set up in September, replaced the economic management team chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has secured an order of a federal high court in Abuja to detain former chairman of the pension reform tax team, Abdurrashid Maina, and his son Faisal, pending the conclusion of an ongoing investigation. The order, which was given on October 7, 2019, followed an ex-parte application by the anti-graft agency, empowered the commission to remand the defendant in its custody for an initial period of 14 days. The court, however, noted that the order was subject to review if necessary. Maina and his son were arrested at an Abuja hotel by the Department of State Services, DSS, and were subsequently handed to the EFCC for further investigation and prosecution on allegations of fraud and money laundering to the tune of 2.1 billion naira. Before Maina was handed over to the commission last week, he had been evading arrest for over 4 years. President Buhari has condoled with the families of the 38 victims of a boat mishap in Kirifi local government area of Bauchi State. On Monday, 40 farmers were on their way to their farms when their boat capsized and 38 people drowned, while 2 survived. In a condolence message by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu in Abuja on Tuesday, Buhari described the incident as a devastating tragedy, not only for the families of the victims, but also for the entire country. The president extended his sympathies to their families and prayed God to grant them the fortitude to bear the loss. Meanwhile, the governor of the state, Bala Mohammed, has paid a courtesy visit to the families of the victims, where he announced a donation of 10 million naira to be distributed by a committee. Gunmen have kidnapped John Egla, a pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital. Spokesman of the State Police Command, Nansel Rahman, confirmed that Egla was abducted at his residence in Shabu community at the outskirts of the state. Rahman said the gunmen invaded the pastor's house at about 1:16 a.m. on Wednesday, shooting sporadically into the air before whisking him away. The police spokesman said they found 6 empty shells of AK-47 ammunition at the scene of the abduction. He added that the Nasarawa State Police Command has deployed a team to rescue Egla. The senior pastor of the RCCG, Falaye Omoni, has appealed to the police to double their efforts in rescuing the pastor. I recall that in August, 5 ministers of the Redeemed Christian Church of God were abducted on their way to attend the church's ministers' conference in Lagos, but were later rescued unhurt by the police. Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has inaugurated the 2019 Strategic Management and Policy Studies course. According to the Army boss, the course is designed to examine security through other lenses rather than the kinetic engagement which most of the participants are used to. The course is solely for military personnel other than security agencies and civilians by the Nigerian Army Resource Center in collaboration with the Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA.
As part of the continuous upgrade of the Strategic Management and Policy Studies course, the 4 strands of Course 1, consisting of policy, management, entrepreneurship, and research methodology, were reviewed and increased to 5 to include psychology in line with the objectives of the course and guidelines of the National Universities Commission. This is to place participants at par with similar courses in other parts of the world. All these efforts were conducted in conjunction with the Nigerian Defense Academy, other relevant institutions, facilitators, and in-house faculty members. This course is therefore rich in its academic content to meet contemporary academic requirements. However, emphasis is not only on academics, as other factors were considered given the peculiar target audience, which is the entire security architecture of the nation. Thus, security, which in itself has expanded beyond the old state-centric dimension to now cover all human endeavors, is a major factor in this course.
The University of Lagos, Akoka, has suspended yet another lecturer, Samuel Oladipo, of the Department of Economics, Faculty of Social Sciences, after he was indicted in a sexual harassment documentary produced by the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. UNILAG's Principal Assistant Registrar, Communications Unit, Taiwo Oloyede, confirmed this to newsmen on Tuesday. Now, this comes 2 days after the documentary exposed 4 lecturers, 2 from the University of Lagos and 2 from the University of Ghana, Legon, for allegedly harassing undercover reporters who posed as students in need of academic help. At an emergency management meeting on Monday, UNILAG suspended one of the lecturers featured in the documentary, Boniface Igbenehu of the Department of European Languages and Integrated Studies of the Faculty of Arts. Top government officials have been reacting to this, with Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, wife of the President Aisha Buhari, and the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU calling for the prosecution of the lecturers and a cleansing of Nigeria's education system. Tertiary institutions in Africa need to have a harmonized duration of course year, curriculum and content. Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, NUC, Abubakar Rashid said this at the 11th International Conference and Workshops on Quality Assurance in Higher Education in Africa. The NUC boss says the need for harmonization cannot be overemphasized, considering the increase in academic mobility and population since 2002. Rashid also expressed worry over the spate of advertorials on the pages of newspapers promising university degrees in less than a stipulated time period.
We are at pains when we are confronted by employers of labor in this country or outside the country trying to get us to interpret qualifications. Sometimes we get countries in Africa allowing some universities to award degrees in 6 months. 6 months in Africa. Many countries allow 1 year, 1.5 years is normal. In some of our West African countries, actually 2 years is on the high side. From your secondary school, in 1.5 years, you come back to Nigeria with a degree. And you want to go for NYSC, and they end up with NUC. Well, we tell them we don't have legal jurisdiction outside Nigeria. But we will advise you, anybody with a secondary education who claims to have earned a degree anywhere in less than 2 years, even in less than 3 years, should not be recognized. So part of the harmonization is to even to harmonize the duration. We are not saying everybody must spend X number of years if he wants to get this, but let there be equivalences. It makes no sense to allow some universities in some countries to do what they do.
The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Adeleke Adewolu as the Executive Commissioner on the Governing Board of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier sent the nomination of Adewolu to the Senate for confirmation. Adewolu replaces Sunday Dare as the Southwest Zone's representative on the board of the NCC. After Adewolu's appointment on Wednesday, some lawmakers expressed concern that there is no member of governing board of the NCC from the Southeast. The Senate Minority Leader, Inaya Abaribe, urged the president to nominate a replacement since the former board member from the Southeast had resigned his appointment.
Whoever is the chairman of the Federal Character Committee should look into some of these appointments. So there should be equitable distribution of these positions and infrastructures in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, especially as it involves appointments. For Southeast to be omitted from this is not very good.
The Southeast will be represented in NCC Commission. There is no Southeast there. And this is time for us to get it done. If you consider, I'm not against whoever they're bringing, I'm not. But then they should be done as stipulated in the NCC Act.
The committee, after exhaustive deliberations and scrutiny of the curriculum vitae and other supporting documents of the nominee, and having been satisfied with his qualifications, experience, suitability, competence, and ability in communications regulatory matters, hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nominee, Barrister Adeleke Murufolu Adewolu, as Executive Commissioner on the Governing Board of the Nigerian Communications Commission.
Will the Senate approve the nomination of Barrister Adeleke M. Adewole for appointment as Executive Commissioner on the Governing Board of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Still to come is news in business. Do stay with us. The 14th Wale Soyinka Award for Investigative Reporting is open for entries. Wale Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism hereby calls for submissions from full-time or freelancing Nigerian investigative journalists whose works border on regulatory failures, corruption in public and corporate sectors, or human rights abuses in Nigeria, and published between 4th October 2018 and 3rd October 2019. Award categories: print, radio, television, photo, online and editorial cartoon. Deadline: Thursday, 24th October 2019 by 4 p.m. Winners will receive cash prizes and more worth 1 million naira. Other finalists will also be rewarded. To apply, please visit www.wscij.org/2019 award. For more information, call 0908-251-5179 or email wscij@wscij.org. Welcome back. Let's now talk business with Fidelia Agunsa. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Aneta.
We see updates here on the VAT from President Buhari's 2020 budget. Please bring us up to speed.
Well, you're correct, Aneta. A total of 10 food items have been added to the list of products exempted from VAT. President Buhari revealed this while presenting his 2020 budget proposal to the National Assembly. The exempted items include bread, cereals, fish, flour and starch meals, fruits, yam, meat, milk, salt and herbs, as well as water. Reacting to the development during plenary today, former Deputy Senate Vice President Ike Ekweremadu urged the government to list all other items exempted from VAT. He also criticized the oil benchmark set in the 2020 budget proposal.
The exchange rate put at 305 naira to a dollar. Of course, we know that it's not realistic. Nobody gets dollar at 305 anywhere. So for every dollar we earn, we now discover that the states, the local government and the federal government are losing about 60 naira for every dollar. Because if we are able to use the actual rate in the management of our federation account, that means that more money will be available to both the state, the federal and the local government. And of course, I've looked at the VAT, the increase in VAT. I believe that in doing so, we should not just be listing those items that are exempted, but we should be showing emphasis on the vatable items. Because if you just do a list of those that are exempted, then more is hidden that we have been shown.
The Nigerian Senate has also advocated for the immediate construction of the Oil and Gas Research Center at Oloibiri in Bayelsa State. Now, this call comes on the heels of a motion by Deji Biobarakuma, a lawmaker from Bayelsa State, who argued that 63 years after discovery, exploitation and production of crude oil, the Oloibiri oil field and its surrounding communities had suffered neglect and environmental degradation.
The first oil well that came out with a commercial quantity and contributed to our revenue earning and also national development. Mr. President, the story of Oloibiri is actually a story of negligence by a people who benefited from a system, and then when the system gets older, abandon it completely.
If the research center and the museum is established, Nigeria will be able to generate resources. And our history, from history, the generations yet unborn will learn quite a lot. And from research, it is possible, because when oil is found, Olibri is what we are talking about. There are several other oil wells now that will dry up in future. What are the consequences of this to human survival? What happened after oil has been drained in the land? What happens to that land? What happens to the people? Are there health? Are there other consequences to them? The research will be able to bring that out. And by doing that, we'll be able to prevent any further consequences to the health of the people.
Olibri oil field, which is the first oil well in West Africa, is now dried after several decades of production. Sadly, the field is covered with rust, weeds, and marked with weather-beaten signboard with inscription, Olibri Well 1. Observes that in other climes where crude oil was first found, notably the Little Titusville in Pennsylvania, United States of America, Manama, Bahrain in Asia, government develops heritage institutions such as oil museum and research centers, industrial parks, and what have you.
The World Bank has cut its economic growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa for 2019 to 2021 by 0.2 percentage points from its earlier projection, citing a slowdown in fixed investment and policy uncertainty in the global economy. The bank said the region's economy was expected to grow 2.6% this year from a 2.8% projected in April. It added that the growth would rise to 3.1% in 2020 and 3.2% in 2021. China and the U.S., the world's leading economies, this year imposed new tariffs on each other's goods as part of a long-running dispute over Beijing's trading practices, which Washington says are unfair. The bank says those tensions, plus softening global growth and falling commodity prices, compounded by the slow pace of reforms in African countries, are weighing on activity across the region. Well, up next is a review of activities on the stock market after this break. Nigeria's equities market is falling for the 7th consecutive day, and that's following a not-so-impressive economic projection for the country. One would have expected the market to perform a bit better than it did on Tuesday, following assurances that the record 10.33 trillion naira 2020 budget would grow small businesses and boost the economy. But it seems that did very little to regain investors' confidence, because the market today dipped further to 0.79%, pulling the all-share index from 26,809 basis points to 26,598 basis points. Now, the consumer goods sector took the biggest hit from today's downtrend, with 3 of its equities occupying the losers chart. Nestle leads the pack, shedding 15 naira in value, while Dangote Cement comes second, dropping by almost 6 naira. Guinness and Nigeria Breweries lost a combined 2 naira 7 kobo to claim the 3rd and 4th place on the losers chart. But on the gainers chart, we have MTN Nigeria making a swift comeback from yesterday's drop. The telecom giant gained 1 naira and 5 kobo at the end of trading today. Forte Oil, Access Bank, and UACN sit on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place on the chart. Well, in summary, more equities were traded on the floor of the market today than we witnessed on Tuesday, with a total value of trade coming in at 7.3 billion naira. Now, that's a huge difference from the 2.5 billion seen on the market yesterday. Well, let's now move to the foreign scene and see how it fared. FTSE, Dow are posting gains of 0.33% and 0.60%, but it's a different tale for the Nikkei, whose value is crashing by 0.61%. For data from over here, it's back to Aneta.
Thanks for that update, Fidelia. Moving on now to the foreign scene. Turkish military forces have bombed parts of northeastern Syria to launch a long-threatened offensive against Kurdish militants from People's Protection Unit, YPG. Syria's state-run television reports that the Turkish army launched an operation in the country's north by carrying out an airstrike in the city of Ras Al Ain. President Recep Erdogan said the operation was to create a safe zone cleared of Kurdish militias, which will also house 2 million of Turkey's 3.6 million Syrian refugees. This is coming just days after President Donald Trump controversially withdrew U.S. troops from northern Syria. After hours of delay, administrative officials of the senior men national team, Super Eagles, and Nigeria Football Federation, NFF officials, finally secured their entry visas into Singapore. This is coming ahead of Sunday's prestige friendly between Nigeria and Brazil in the country. The officials duly departed Nigeria via the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport aboard Emirates Airline on Wednesday. In the meantime, sports pundit Kunle Sulaja has been reacting to the planned friendly match. Take a listen.
We are now going for high-profile friendly matches rather than playing friendly matches that will not really test the skill of our players. So playing Brazil, playing Argentina, playing Germany, playing Italy, these are the type of friendly matches one really expect we should be looking out for. Even though one could say probably that the timing may not be too good for us. We are now in the process of rebuilding, and in the process of rebuilding, you don't really throw your newly assembled team against a very big brand, probably the biggest brand in the world, because the result could be demoralizing. But if it is against middle range teams, yes, you can, like we had against Ukraine. So that was a good friendly match. But against Brazil, the result may be so devastating that there's the tendency to write off the entire team, and that may really stall the rebuilding process. Also, why I also believe that maybe we should have gone for middle range team is that as at the moment, our eyes are focused on qualifying for the African Nations Cup. We already know the type of opposition we have to scale through. Playing against African teams, like even Senegal, will have even also be beneficial for us.
And that's the size of our bulletin here on News Now. Many thanks for watching.